This is pollen. It is pollen season in Atlanta. Today I'm going to take you on a personal tour of one of my favorite neighborhoods in Atlanta, Summerhill. And that's coming up right now. Welcome back to the Living in Atlanta YouTube channel. This channel is all about what it's like to live in Atlanta. My name is Marc Brenner. I'm a real estate professional here in Atlanta. And if you're thinking of moving here, I would love to hear from you. All of my contact information is below. Feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call. People reach out to us all the time. They need help relocating. They need a recommendation for an agent to sell their house. And they need to know where in Atlanta is the best place for them to live. We can help you with all that. Don't hesitate to reach out. Also, if you like this video, please hit like and tap the subscribe button so you can be notified every time I put out more content about what it's like to live in Atlanta. So it's beautiful right now in Atlanta. We're in the perfect stretch of weather. It usually happens in the springtime and fall, where you just have a few weeks here that are perfect. It's in the 70s, there's a nice breeze, there's lots of sun, and the bugs aren't really out yet. We are dealing with some serious pollen, but nonetheless, it's beautiful right now in Atlanta. So I thought it would be a great time to give you a personal tour of one of my favorite neighborhoods in Atlanta, Summerhill. So we're out in Phoenix Park today, which is a beautiful little park in Summerhill. Nice and quiet, no one's here right now. Everyone's keeping their distance. But Summerhill is a great neighborhood, and I personally live right next to Summerhill in Peoplestown. And Peoplestown, Summerhill, and Grant Park are kind of connected neighborhoods. They all border each other, and to me, it's like a mini section of the city. I usually lump them in together as an area. Now, when you pull up a map, you'll see Summerhill is really in town living. You are practically in downtown Atlanta. You're just south of downtown in the Capitol building, but you are totally centrally located in Atlanta. So it's great if you're looking to be in the city. It's one of the best places you can be. You can have quick access to the major interstates, 75, 85, and 20. You can hop right on. Not only that, but you are close to so many of the best neighborhoods in Atlanta. Like I just said, you're right next to Peoplestown and Grant Park, which is an extremely desirable place to live. You're also close to so many of the up-and-coming hip neighborhoods, or the already established hip neighborhoods, like Inman Park, Edgewood, Reynoldstown, Cabbagetown, Old Fourth Ward, East Atlanta Village. So if you live in Summerhill, you are a super easy, 5, not even 10-minute drive to all of these great neighborhoods. In addition to everywhere else in the city, I mean, if you live this centrally in Atlanta, you're going to be able to get around anywhere. You're less than 10-minute drive to Midtown and Piedmont Park. You can get to Buckhead really easily, and you're also 15 minutes from Hartsfield-Jackson. So geographically, it's hard to beat being this centrally located in the city. And right now, Summerhill is known as one of the hottest neighborhoods real estate-wise in Atlanta. And one of the big reasons for that is you're getting the proximity and the amenities of Grant Park, which is an expensive, very desirable place to live, without really the Grant Park prices yet. So I've done another video taking you on a tour of Grant Park. It's a beautiful place to live. If you're in Grant Park, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, ranging anywhere from $400,000 to $800,000, depending the size of the house and where exactly you are. But Summerhill, your dollar is definitely going to go a little further. Most of the prices are in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, give or take, depending on size. But there's still a lot of value to be had in Summerhill and Peoplestown, and that's why we're seeing a lot of people move into these two neighborhoods. They are both super close to the Beltline, walking distance, which is really desirable anywhere in Atlanta for you to be near the Beltline. And like I said, you can still buy a great house at a really affordable price and be close to already established neighborhoods. And in the next few years, these neighborhoods are just going to get more and more expensive. It's going to be tougher and tougher to buy. So in my opinion, Summerhill is a great place to get into right now. So for me personally, when my wife and I bought our home in Peoplestown around 6 years ago, Peoplestown and Summerhill was very different from what it is now. It didn't have as much going on. You were still in a great proximity to a lot of the best neighborhoods, but you really had to venture out to enjoy the amenities. And to be honest, we got a lot of sideways looks from friends when we purchased in this area because there was still a little bit of crime in the area. Some of the houses were more run down and there was just less development. Well, 6 years later, and that has really been turned on its head. And here's what happens. There was two big things that have totally transformed the Summerhill and Peoplestown area. So the first one is the development of the Beltline. And I've talked about the Beltline briefly in a few other videos. I'm going to do an in-depth video about it, but the Beltline is literally one of the best things to happen in Atlanta's history. It is a 22-mile former railway corridor that forms a circle around downtown and metro Atlanta. And what the Atlanta Beltline Coalition has done basically is taken that old railway corridor and paved it and turned it into a system of walkways where you can walk, bike. In some sections you can take a scooter down it, and there's also a series of parks around the Beltline for people to enjoy. And I've said before how Atlanta is known for its sprawl. It's not a dense place like New York City where you can walk or take a train very easily between neighborhood and neighborhood. You really need to own a car here, unfortunately. But what's happened with the Beltline is it's connected little pockets of the city that weren't really as connected before. So you can hop on the Beltline, say in Inman Park, and walk or bike over to Piedmont Park really quicker than you could drive between the two at this point. So the Beltline has had a insanely positive impact real estate wise on all the neighborhoods that it runs through. And Peoplestown, more so than Summerhill, is specifically a Beltline neighborhood. The Beltline runs along the border of Peoplestown, and there's a Beltline park in Peoplestown called D.H. Stanton. But Summerhill has definitely seen the positive effects of the Beltline as well. So people buying in Summerhill know they're in great proximity to the Beltline and they can really enjoy all that it has to offer. So that's the first thing that really changed this little section of the city. The other big one, and the one that's had the biggest impact on Summerhill, is Georgia State University purchasing Turner Field. So the Atlanta Braves played baseball in Turner Field, which is in Summerhill, for a long time. They're now out in Cobb County. They have a new stadium, SunTrust, which is really cool. But the problem with when the Braves were playing there was they only played 80 or so home games, and for the rest of that time, it was really just dead space. The stadium was empty. There's a bunch of parking lots around that were empty, and so there weren't any thriving businesses around it during that off time. You didn't have great traffic around there. There wasn't any police presence, and just not a lot going on, which generally speaking isn't good for a neighborhood. Now that Georgia State University, which is one of the state's largest universities, purchased Turner Field, that stadium is getting a lot more use, and the area around the stadium is getting tremendous amount of use. So the Georgia football team, the Panthers, now play in Turner Field, as well as some of the other Georgia State University sports teams play there. There are more concerts being held there. There's band practice. There are all kinds of marathons that either start or finish or involved in some way around the Summerhill area. So there's a lot more use with the stadium. There's a lot more use with the parking lots there as well. So Georgia State University has built some student housing in the parking lots, which is already up. There's a lot more students living there. So it's become a more dense area with the influx of students And people, you obviously have an influx of police presence, which has been great for the crime rate in this area. Georgia State University with their own police presence that is constantly in the parking areas and in the living areas where the students are. So what has happened is now that you have the Beltline that's really been developed in this area, and now that you have Georgia State University transforming Turner Field and the parking lots around it, now we've seen the retail side of things come along, and that's where it's gotten really exciting in the last year or two. Specifically, it's centered around Georgia Ave, which runs from Turner Field all the way down towards Grant Park. And now there's a couple blocks of Georgia Ave that have been filled up with really cool new hip restaurants, and it's become a really walkable area, which is rare for Atlanta and is really extremely desirable. So in just the last year or two, we've seen so many businesses pop up on this little stretch of Georgia Ave. There is a coffee shop, a soft serve ice cream shop, there's a killer brewery slash pub, there is a great barbecue place, a pizza place, a hot dog place. They are making a hair salon here. So you can really see a vibrant little neighborhood popping up around here. It reminds me a lot of what Inman Park is now. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Inman Park, it's an extremely desirable little neighborhood to live in. There's a ton of hot, trendy restaurants over there, and I can really see Summerhill being the next Inman Park. So it may not seem like a big deal that these restaurants and businesses are popping up, but the thing that stands out to me is the quality. They're not chains like you see a lot of in Atlanta. These are locally owned independent restaurants, bars, and whatnot, and they're all really good. The barbecue place is amazing. The pub, Halfway Crooks, has become one of my favorite pubs in the whole city. So these are spots that are going to be really popular, especially for younger people to hang out at, and that's all going to lend to Summerhill continuing to be an increasingly desirable place for people to live. So again, if you need to be in town, maybe you're a young couple, you want to be right in the heart of all the action, you want to have easy access to the interstate, you want to be able to get anywhere inside the perimeter really quickly, and you don't want to spend $500,000 plus, I would definitely look into Summerhill. I think it's going to continue to grow and get more and more awesome. Businesses are going to continue to pop up around here, and I just see Peoplestown and Summerhill in the next 5 or so years becoming more dense and really extremely walkable neighborhoods in their own right. So what's the housing situation in Summerhill like? Well, the median list price here is around $370,000. There's a pretty diverse mix of both new construction, which is usually either a farmhouse style or contemporary modern style, and then traditional craftsman style homes. There are a couple condo communities in here if you prefer that. There is limited inventory here. We're still in a seller's market, so these homes do get scooped up quick, but I still think there's a lot of great value to be had here. I think you can end up with a great amount of equity if you get in at the right price. So for new construction, you're looking in the $500,000 to $600,000 range. For resale, say maybe a 3-2 with 1,500 square feet, you're going to be in the mid threes, and obviously your prices are going to go up as you move east towards Grant Park proper. You know, to see this section of Georgia Ave go from literally nothing to some abandoned buildings and a liquor store to now being totally built up with these really cool, independent, locally owned restaurants and businesses. It's just amazing to see how quickly things can change in a little neighborhood. All right, everyone, so I hope you enjoyed your personal tour of the Summerhill neighborhood. Again, my name is Marc Brenner, and I would love to hear from you. If you're thinking of moving to Atlanta, reach out to me. I help people relocate here all the time from other states, and I would love to connect with you to find out how I can help. Click that like button and tap that subscribe button as well to be notified every time I put out new content. Hope you're staying safe and healthy and sane out there, and I'll see you next time.